Hi everyone, I'm Dr.Animaction, and welcome to this week's alternating video. Today I'm doing a top 10-ish as voted for on Patreon, and because one of you mentioned it in the comments a while back, sorry, but I don't remember who, I thought maybe I'd look at the best mounts from 80s action cartoons. To set the ground rules for this list, my definition for a mount is that they be a creature or being that can be used to transport a humanoid. The mounts have to be organic, either biologically or in their physical characteristics. No living robots or AI unless they're animal robots, because cars will be a different list. But anything that meets that criteria is open game here. I'll be interested to hear the debates about this one because I'm expecting some disagreement, so make sure to comment. Also, as usual, if you love all things 80s and animated, make sure to like and subscribe. And just as a quick plug for myself, all of my 80s designed shirts and sweatshirts now have free domestic shipping through my Etsy store, so check those out at the link in the description. Now without further ado, let's jump into the top 10-ish mounts from 80s action cartoons. So I know that this mount was just a one-off, but it's funny, so I wanted to mention it here. It's Shipwreck and Snake Eyes Cow from G.I. Joe, a real American hero. This mount appeared in the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries and was used as part of the pair's escape from Cobra headquarters. I'm assuming that it was meant as a joke, considering the pair could obviously have just walked faster than the cow could carry them, but how can you not love the image of a sailor and a ninja walking into the G.I. Joe Command Center under bovine power? So starting off the actual list, we have Wildfire from Wildfire. This mount is a mystical talking horse that can travel between our dimension and the magical realm of Darshan. He was entrusted with the protection of the princess of the land when she was just a baby, as her evil aunt Lady Diabolin led an uprising to claim the throne, killing the current queen in the process. Wildfire took the baby Princess Sarah to our world and left her to be raised on a ranch in Montana. However, he returned when she was 13 years old to bring her back to Darshan and retake her rightful throne. So other than talking and traveling between dimensions, which gets him a place higher than the normal animals, Wildfire doesn't really seem to do much that a regular horse can't. Also, he recruited a 13-year-old girl to go fight an evil witch, and that's kind of not great planning. Those things combined keep him down here at number 10. Moving on to number 9, we have Steed from Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, the mechanical horse so beloved that his owner didn't even bother naming him. So this one is pretty much just a horse, but he's a robotic horse that can fly. He has enough of an AI that he can respond to Saber Rider's vocal commands, and he's completely fearless, making him an ideal mount for the sword-wielding rider, but he doesn't have much else going beyond that. He has a cool design though, and like I said, he flies, and anything that flies gets bonus points in my book. At least enough bonus points to get him to number 9. And speaking of mechanical horses, number 8 is another one. It's Triton from Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers. Triton was Shane Gooseman's horse in the series, which the show referred to as a cyber steed, and he and Goose were more closely bonded than any of the other Ranger horse pairings. Unlike number 9, Steed though, Triton was a highly advanced, fully sentient AI construct who was able to speak with Goose and act independently. Triton was not only highly intelligent, but incredibly fast, capable of traversing most any terrain, and possessed of nearly limitless stamina. He's also fiercely loyal, generally unwilling to let anyone other than Goose ride him, and more communicative than the other cyber steeds, frequently conversing with Goose. And again, he's another cool design. He may not be able to fly, but he has personality, and that gets him the number 8 slot. Number 7 is where we start to get away from our normal horse-type mounts, for a while at least. I know what all of you out there are thinking. Anyway though, this spot goes to Warlock from Bravestar. Warlock is what the main character in the series refers to as a dragon horse, though from what I can tell is really just a normal dragon. He can fly, and when he's in the air he has some impressive speed and maneuverability, and he can also breathe fire like dragons do. I mean, most dragons in pop culture do at least. He's shown to be fairly intelligent, though he doesn't communicate directly, in response to Bravestar's commands. In pretty much every way, he's just what you picture for a standard, basic dragon. That's cool enough to get him a spot above the horses here, but not enough to get him up in the ranks of the top 6. We're going to stick with dragons for our number 6 pick. Kind of. It's Dragonflyer from Sectars. Dragonflyer is kind of an insect dragon. He's not a dragonfly, as he has more of an ant-like body with a large abdomen, and he's not any kind of normal insectoid, as he has a jaw and a full set of fangs instead of a proboscis. But he's not any kind of normal dragon either, with his 6 legs and gossamer insect wings. Regardless of what he isn't though, what he is pretty cool, for a bug. He's demonstrated significant speed and strength in various representations across the Too Short cartoon and comic appearances. He's also got some heightened senses that serve as a sort of radar and early warning system. Finally, and most importantly though, is the symbiosis that Dragonflyer shares with Dargon, Prince of the Shining Realm. This allows them to communicate telepathically, even across broad distances, and ensures that Dragonflyer is always there when he's needed. I'm really not much of an insect fan myself, but I'll make an exception here. Number 5 is, and I'll throw in a plea here for you all to not unsubscribe, but it's Battlecat from He-Man. I know, sorry, but hear me out on this one. Sure, Battlecat is super strong and super fast, and he can jump some pretty massive heights and gaps, and yeah, he can talk to He-Man, but at the end of the day, he's a pretty normal giant cat with some magnified giant cat traits. He basically does what any other lion or tiger can do, he just does it a little bigger. There's also the fact that he spends most of his time as Cringer, who I think most of you will be willing to agree with me is a pretty annoying character, so I just can't put him higher on this list. I think that most of what makes Battlecat awesome is that, well, he's Battlecat. It's our love of He-Man, the world, and the design that make him a great character to us, but as a mount, there are just some that are better. Like my number 4 pick, Swiftwind from She-Ra. Swiftwind and Battlecat may have some things in common, but he's also so much more than his He-Man counterpart. I'm not just talking about the fact that he flies either, though he does get the bonus points that I mentioned earlier. He's specifically got the advantage here though when it comes to speed, as Swiftwind has been shown to be capable of moving between planets at near light speed. Combine that with his ability to not only speak, but also to communicate telepathically through his horn, and you get a much more capable mount than any of the others on this list we've seen so far. Honestly, I debated putting him even higher on the list, but there were a few others that I think beat him out in either abilities, coolness, iconicness, or a combination of all three. So now we get to the top 3, and the bronze medal goes to a mount that's probably more iconic than any of the others here on this list so far, and more famous across pop culture as a whole. It's Yoshi from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I know, the controversy on this list just keeps coming, right? But really, Yoshi's a pretty cool and unique mount, and possesses a range of skills and abilities that the others up to this point don't. He's nearly human-like in his ability to interact with people in the environment, with a pair of opposing thumbs allowing him to use tools and equipment unlike anyone else on the list. Again, so far. He also has a ridiculous jumping skill and a triple jump power, and the hover ability with his Looney Tunes air running. Then there's the fact that he can pretty much eat anything, and even gain power from some things when he does, like spitting fireballs or growing wings. Combine that with his egg shooting and whip/rope-like tongue, and he becomes quite the versatile character. In our number 2 slot, and again, please don't unsubscribe, is 3030 from Bravestar. 3030 is so much more than a mount that it's almost insulting to put him on a list like this at all. But he spends half of his time as a horse that Bravestar rides, so he qualifies. It's the other half of the time that earns him this spot on the list though, as he transcends being just a mount and actually becomes a partner for the Marshal, the Robin to his Batman as it were. In his alternate form, 3030 becomes essentially human, with the ability to use his massive shotgun and interact with the environment. Plus he's really strong and fast as well. Sure, he may not have all the powers and super abilities of some of the list's other entries, but the fact that he's such a well-developed and presented character, combined with his role as a true partner for the series' main protagonist, more than justify him getting up this high on the list. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that quite a few of you would have been happy to see him at number 1. Well, him or Battlecat. But on my list, there's one other mount in 80s animation that beats him. Let me know if you can guess who in the comments. Before we get to that, though, let's look at some honorable mentions. I have a few honorable mentions that I wanted to give a shout out to, each representing the best of the normal animals. Those 3 are Silver from The Lone Ranger, the Diplodocus from Dino Riders, and Swift from David the Gnome. Sure, a couple of those really aren't action shows, which would disqualify them from the list for the most part, but they all deserve a mention. There's generally nothing special about them, as they're just loyal, well-trained animals, but that's enough. Each of them throughout their various series are put into several situations that a normal animal generally wouldn't stick around for, but these mounts do, engaging in battles on their rider's behalf or rising up to meet the environmental challenges that seem insurmountable. Because of that, these 3 get the nod from me. And that brings us to my number 1. I chose this character for this position because if you let me choose a mount from an 80s action cartoon to have for myself in real life, he's the one that I'd pick. It's Zoc from the Herculoids. Yeah, he's not the first dragon on the list, but come on, look at this guy. He checks all the boxes. Flying? Yep. Passengers? We've seen him easily carry 3 plus the Gloop Gleek combo. Strong? He can lift the giant rock ape Egu pretty easily, so definitely yes. Fire breathing? Check. Finally though, he can also shoot lasers, 3 of them out of his eyes and tail, and he can combine those 3 into an extra powerful single beam. Or if he's on the defensive, he can shoot a beam from his eyes that neutralizes other energy sources. His wings are powerful enough to escape the atmosphere, and he can fly through space with no problem. That includes flying between planets, as Zoc is capable of interstellar travel as well. There's just something unsurpassingly cool about him, and that is why, for me at least, he's the best mount in 80s action cartoons. So that's my list. I'm sure it looks pretty different from a lot of your lists out there, so let me know in the comments how you'd change things up. Are there any other mounts that I missed, or any here that you think shouldn't have been? Call that out too. Whatever it is, I'm happy to chat about it with you guys below. If you liked this list, or cartoons in general, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check my Instagram for my expanded pop culture coverage too, as I cover a lot of different topics over there. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and stay tuned, as in cartoons. Later.